This is the Unstuck movement, true testimonies of breakthrough. We've got an incredible story for you today. I'm your host, Rob Z, and we have Liam Naden with us on the podcast. Liam, I'm really excited to hear your story, really excited to talk to you and just understand how you found such incredible breakthrough in your life. You were homeless at one point in your life, and I'm really curious from where you were to how you've built an incredible life and business for yourself now. How did homelessness impact your understanding of success?
Well, actually, it was everything. And it's one of those experiences that you look back on and you say, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. We have these crises or tragedies in our life very often, but people who go through something really traumatic, they very often use it as not just as a learning experience, but it teaches them something completely different to how to live their life, basically. And that's what it did for me. It woke me up because, before that, I was really stuck. I was a millionaire before that. And I remember going into, building my dream home. On this specific day, I was just putting the finishing touches on my dream home. And I went into a room in the house and I just looked out to the mountains. And I said, this is it. I've done it. I've reached my goals. I'm living my dreams. I've built my dream house. I've got multiple businesses working for me. I've got freedom to travel and do what I want. Isn't it amazing? However, instead of feeling really great about having reached my goals, if you like, I actually felt absolutely terrible. I was completely and utterly stressed. I had lots of problems in every area of my life. Things weren't going well. And I thought, why can't I enjoy this? Why can't I've reached where I want to be. Is this all there is? And I remember saying to myself, this isn't what I signed up for. I wanted to feel good about my life, not just have a lot of stuff. So there's something else going on here. And I said to myself, or a voice said to me, I'd actually rather give all this away, give up everything I've got if it means that I can save my soul. Because I guess we've all been in that place, and most people are in that place a lot, where they're wondering, what's the point of this? I've got so much stress and I'm really chasing after getting rid of my problems and trying to fix things in my life and trying to get to that place where I feel in control, where I feel that things are really going well, but I never get there. There's always something that comes along that's a problem, and I'm just never happy. I'm never, I can never really have peace in my life, if you like. But as they say, you have to be careful what you think about, because that's when I literally, within a few weeks, I did lose everything. I lost the home, my businesses, my marriage at the time. And I had to move back in with my elderly mother and sleep on the sofa in the living room of her small apartment. And that's when it really hit me that everything I thought I knew about how you create success in your life was wrong. Because I hadn't just been a hard worker and a clever businessman, because I did this through my own businesses. I've had 18 different businesses in my life. I'm a real entrepreneur, or more so used to be. But, I didn't just work hard on businesses. I studied success. I went to every seminar, read every book, did every course on personal development stuff like goal setting and, positive thinking, peak performance, visualization, rewiring your beliefs, all these things. And I could quote all of the gurus to you on what it meant and how you create success in your life. But I realized none of that meant anything, because it hadn't obviously worked for me. I'd ended up being an expert on success, but I lost everything. I became homeless. And that certainly wasn't on my goals list. And that's when I realized I had to look at success, or I had to look at my life in a completely different way. And when I did, everything started to change. And that's really what led me to where I am now, and created a far better life than I had before, in a much easier, struggle-free way. And that's really what I share with people now, is how I did that and how we can all do that.
Well, I cannot wait to learn more and dive more into this. And I also, just on the jump here in a couple of seconds, I want to talk about how does somebody lose all of that, to go from the dream and having so much and being a millionaire to losing all of those things, and including your house, including your marriage and the businesses that you had built. But before we get there, I just want to welcome everybody to the Unstuck movement. These stories are created, well, this platform was created to tell these stories so that you have real life examples that breakthrough is possible for you in your life and in your business. Break the chains that have been holding you back. We're sponsored by the Connected Leaders Academy, the CLA, over 400 amazing heart-centered servant leader entrepreneurs from all over the world helping each other grow. You can find out more at connectedleadersacademy.com. And also, while you're here, I just want to remind you, if you're ready to become the go-to authority in your field, maybe you're an expert at what you do, but you really want to brand yourself as that expert, to become that authority that you know that you can be, make a lasting impact and impression on people's lives, make incredible connections for yourself personally and professionally. Join the Pro Podcaster Academy waitlist at robzwentz.com. I would love to talk to you about that. Today, we have Liam Naden with us, a transformational coach who helps entrepreneurs and leaders unlock their potential by combining neuroscience, psychology, and practical strategies. His unique approach empowers people to create a balanced, purpose-driven life while achieving breakthrough success. Your story of breakthrough, I can tell already, Liam, is fascinating. What were you doing? I know you said you had multiple different businesses, but what were you doing that built this fortune for yourself, and how did it all come crumbling down in a couple of weeks?
It was a little more than a couple of weeks, but it was literally a couple of months. Well, I think the thing is, the most important thing I could say about the whole experience was when I was lying on the sofa in my mother's living room, trying to figure out what had happened to me. I didn't know why it had happened. And in fact, two questions kept coming up in my mind constantly. And the first one was, as I just said, why has this happened to me? Because if we're really honest, when we look at our lives, anyone listening or watching, really think about it. The most significant things that happen to you, do you really know why they happen? You might think you do, and you might work out a bit of a plan, but is that really what's going on? And a good example is when you meet the person that you end up marrying or becomes your partner or your spouse, and you build a life together. Did you really plan on doing that? Was that part of your goals list? Now, it might have been part of your goals list to say, well, I'm going to meet someone and they're going to be perfect for me. But you didn't have it on your goals list that I'm going to meet that person at this particular time and my life is going to work out in this particular way. So we have this tendency to think that we're organizing our life, but we're not really. What's judging or what's determining what happens to us in our life, there's a lot more to it. And sometimes we call it coincidence and luck. But what I've discovered is that's not what it actually is. There's a sort of a process, if you like, that creates these things in our life. So, but anyway, as I was lying on my mother's sofa, the first question I kept asking was, as I say, why has this happened to me? Because I'm a good person and I know everything about success. I've read all the books. I've spent my life training myself to be a positive thinker and, focus on what my beliefs are and what's going on inside my head and be a massive action taker. So why has this happened to me? And the second question that kept coming up was, what do I do now? Because there I was stuck. I had no money. I was in a town where I didn't know anybody. I'd lost all my business friends and connections. I had nothing. And what I actually did, this was the transformational moment, was I did something I would never have done if I hadn't hit rock bottom. If I hadn't got to that place that anyone who has lost everything will know what it feels like. It's not just about losing what you've got, your stuff. It's about losing your sense of identity. All of a sudden, everything you thought was right about the world, about how the world works, it's not there anymore. You don't even know who you are because everything that is taken away from you that has shaped who you think you are. So what I did was, when I hit rock bottom, I looked at those two questions. Why has this happened to me? And what do I do now? And I gave the ultimate answer to both of those. And the ultimate answer was, I don't know. I don't know why this has happened to me. I don't know what to do. And, I don't care anymore. I just give up. I've spent my life giving and trying and struggling and always been setting my goals and looking for opportunities and working really hard and always trying to learn more, gather more information, meet more people, do more things. And all that's done is land me here on my mother's sofa with nothing, totally confused, totally worn out. So I don't know what to do, and I give up. And what I didn't realize, and we'll talk maybe about biology, because that's the key to it. I didn't realize there's actually a biological principle at work, that when you actually give up, and I don't mean give up as in just like I did, do nothing, but when you actually release control or stop trying to force things to happen, you activate a different part of your brain. And this is pure biology. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that's what I did, because everything changed from that moment. It wasn't so long after that a business showed up. Now, I had nothing, I had no money, but a new business opportunity came along. And before I knew it, I was running a business again, and I was making good money again, and I was giving myself some freedom and able to do things. Then a new relationship showed up, and not a one that was anything like any previous relationship I had. It was a brilliant relationship, still going actually. And then another business showed up, and before I knew it, I was doing some really amazing things. I spent 8 years sailing around Europe in my own new yacht, and I was doing all these amazing things. And I got to the point of saying, and I remember this moment, it was on a yacht, my own yacht, obviously, in the Greek islands. And you can imagine this, you wake up in the morning, you're in a beautiful bay in the Greek islands of all places, absolutely stunning scenery. There's no one around, no other boats, and you just have a swim off the back of the boat, and the sun's shining, and it's all wonderful. And I remember getting out, and as I was drying myself, I thought, this is what I've been missing. This is what I've been looking for all those years. The feeling that actually I'm living my purpose. This is me. This is the best of me. And everything is just falling into place. And I had 2 businesses that were operating from the other side of the world with no problems, no stress. Things were just going really well. And when I said all of these things just came along, that's what it felt like, because I wasn't chasing after them. I wasn't trying to make things happen. And I said to myself, how come when I used to put in so much effort and really struggle and always try to improve myself and be better and set my goals and look for opportunities and do everything I could, how come that I got some outward success, but I ended up totally burnt out, stressed, and with a ton of problems, and then losing everything? And now everything's working brilliantly. And the difference is I'm not setting any goals. I'm not looking for any opportunities. All these things just seem to come along at the right time. And I said to myself, I need to figure out what I'm doing differently, because I want to make sure I don't stop doing it. But there's something fundamentally different that I am doing, because I'm not struggling. I'm not chasing after success. Success is coming after me. And that really sent me on a completely different direction to find out, there's something else going on here that I need to find it out, because, as I say, I didn't want it to stop. I wanted to make sure I kept doing the right things to keep this going.
What was it that you were doing differently? What came to you?
Well, what I didn't realize was the most fundamental thing. Everything that I'd studied about self-help, personal development, spirituality, even religion, psychology, all of these things, there was one thing that all of them missed out, and that I'd never been told about. And it really puzzled me when I thought about it, and when I realized how important it was. But anyway, what was left out was this single fact, and that is, we live in a biological world. We live in a biological body. We are in this natural world, and it doesn't matter what you want or think, you are governed, we're all governed by the laws of this natural world. So for instance, like you can stand on a 10-story building and you can pray, you can meditate, you can motivate yourself, you can use any technique you like to change your beliefs and visualize and convince yourself that you're going to walk off that building and fly up in the air. But as we all know, it's not going to happen. Doesn't matter what you think or what you do, you are controlled by the laws of nature, in this case, the law of gravity. And it turns out nature has a biological purpose for all living things. And if you're to ask any biological scientist, what is the purpose of every living thing? The primary purpose is to survive. Everything is wired primarily to survive. But what that means is that it's wired to give itself the greatest chance for survival, which is being its best. every organism, every living thing is wired and designed to seek and achieve a state of being its best so that it has the greatest chance for survival. So we're no different to the rest of nature. We are actually wired as well. We're wired for success. And success, what that really means, what gives us the greatest chance of survival, in other words, what is a thriving state, is when we're at our best physically, when all our organs are working as well as they can, given our own individual makeup. But it's also when we're at our best mentally and emotionally. In other words, when we're happy, when we're feeling good, when we've got that feeling that I had on the yacht that I talked about, where everything's going well in my life. I have all this energy and enthusiasm and gratitude and wonder about my life, and I'm super productive and everything's going really well. That's the thriving state. That's what we're biologically designed to be in all of the time, because that's the state that gives us the greatest chance for survival, when we're thriving. And so when I started to look at this, the biological nature of success, and to realize that all of nature, success is literally woven into the fabric of nature. Everything is wired for success, including us. And I thought, well, why aren't people successful? Why are 99% of people not living to their highest potential? Is it that there's something wrong with us? It turns out there's not anything wrong with us, but we're doing one thing wrong. And because what nature has provided every living thing with is a mechanism or a machine or something that ensures that we reach this state of thriving, being the best that we can be. And that machine is a brain. So your brain, just like every other living organism on the planet, it's not just there to make sure you survive, it's there to make sure you thrive, that you give yourself the greatest chance for surviving for as long as possible. That's your biological purpose. So your brain is literally a machine with that one purpose, to make sure you have the best life possible on every level, physical, mental, emotional. You're happy, without problems, without stress, because they don't help you survive. They don't help you thrive. They don't extend your life. So they're not biologically natural. So you have this brain with that one purpose. And if it's not doing that, in other words, if you're not living in the thriving state, then there's only one reason, and that is it's not being operated the right way. So if you know of any machine, if you think about any machine, if it's not functioning, if it's got problems, if it's not doing the job it's designed to do, it's because it's not being operated in the right way. Like a motor car. A motor car, very simple, clear machine. It's only got one job as well, and that's to get you from where you are to where you want to go. And it's going to do it, and it's supposed to be an enjoyable ride, and you're supposed to just enjoy the ride. You're not supposed to get out and push it along. You're not supposed to get out every 5 seconds and check to see if it's still working, still going in the right direction. You just drive it and enjoy the journey. But that only happens if you know how to drive it. If you don't know how to press all the right buttons and levers and things, you're going to make a mess of it. You're not going to have an enjoyable journey. You might not get anywhere. And if you do, it's probably not going to be enjoyable. And probably you're going to burn out the engine, and problems are going to show up in the whole experience. So it turns out that on a biological level, problems are actually a sign, and this is a tough one to believe, but it's actually true when you think about it. Problems are simply a sign that you're using this machine the wrong way. Because when you use the machine the right way, your brain, you don't have problems. It makes you thrive. That's what it's there to do. So this whole area, I'd never really thought about this before. I'd never studied it before. But once I started to look in all the places that I could about our biological function, which is through biology, neuroscience, all those things, I found there's this huge overlap with spiritual teaching, religious teaching. And it turns out throughout history, spiritual teachings have instructed us on the right way to use this biological machine to make sure we thrive. We've never interpreted it the right way because we've never thought of it like this. But it's all there in black and white in every spiritual tradition, and every scientist will tell you, or should I say the science, the biology is catching up to see what these spiritual traditions have been saying. There's a way to use your brain, which is the right way, and when you use it the right way, you thrive. And that's why I said right at the beginning, this is about struggle-free success, because you're not designed to struggle. Nature doesn't struggle. Nature just is. Nature is in this, everything else in nature is in this state of perfect flow, perfect development. Everything's perfect. You look at a bird or a plant or an animal, they're not struggling. They are being in a state of perfection with very few exceptions. So that's the struggle-free state we're designed biologically to be in. And all we need to do to be in that state is to understand how the brain works and to use it the right way. And that's how, and it's inevitable, that's how, the way our life will turn out.
Okay, so I want to know, what is this correct way to use our brain? We're going to talk about this in 60 seconds, going to jump into the sponsors for the show. When we come back, I'm very curious. The correct way to biologically use the brain that we've been given to live out the life that we want to live. And Liam, I know you've done this for yourself. I'm excited to find out right after this. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So Liam, how are we using our brains incorrectly? What did you figure out that had caused this massive shift for you?
Okay, well, it's actually quite simple. But to answer that, and just to start answering that, if people are listening, I just want them to think about this idea. Where do you get the most important or the most important tools that you have that really make you successful in your life, that really make a difference, a positive difference? What are they? They're your creativity, your imagination, your intuition. You know, that little voice that we talk about where it tells us we should do something or we shouldn't do something. And when we follow it, it all works out fine. And if we don't follow it, we end up with a mess. Our motivation, our inspiration, when we get new ideas, when we're working with a problem that we don't know the answer to, and we're really struggling to try and figure it out. And all of a sudden, when we're thinking about something else, the answer comes to us and we go, where did that come from? That's exactly the right answer. Why didn't I think of that before? And also for people who are creative and artistic, where do great composers and musicians get the music from that they write? Because they all say they don't know where it comes from. It just came to them. Or great writers or artists or athletes who end up in the state of superior performance. So where does all of these skills, if you like, all these things that we need, these are the things that really, when we use those, make the biggest impact in our life. And they're the things we use to solve problems as well. We don't solve problems and we don't create this ideal inspired life by just trying to sit down and write everything out and figure it out. So where does all this stuff come from? Well, it actually comes from a part of our brain, which I call the creative brain. And the creative brain, which is located, this isn't just an idea. I'm not talking about subconscious mind or anything. This is a biological function within your brain. It's actually located right in the very center of the skull. When this part is activated, you get all of these resources. You come up with the right ideas. You see great opportunities and you take them because you're motivated to do that. You automatically do the right things and you don't do the wrong things. You get all of these good ideas and as I say, they just come to you and you become super productive in your life and you live your ideal life, which is unique to you. So the question is, how do we activate our life or our brain to make sure that we have constant access to all of these things? Because this is a biological thing. And this whole state of thriving, why I call it the creative brain, is when you use this part of your brain, that's when you thrive. It's the part that's designed to make you thrive. And we're supposed to live in this thriving state all of the time with constant access to intuition and imagination and everything else. But what happens for most people? Most people are out there sitting down, stressed, worried, and afraid. And they're trying to figure out from that place how to make their life work. So they're saying, what's the answer to my problems? How can I be happy? What do my goals need to be? What's the solution to do this? What information do I need to learn? Why? And then they think, why can't I think straight? Why am I so confused? What's wrong with my life? Now, what's actually happening in that state is you're blocking the access biologically to all of those other things that I was talking about. Your creativity, your imagination. In other words, all of the things you need to solve problems in your life, you don't have access to those resources. Because what your brain actually has, it has 4 parts, and I cover this in detail on my website. I've got some free resources there. I've created a 4-part brain model, which breaks down the 4 parts of your brain and how they work together to do this biological process. Because your only job, if you want to have the most amazing life that you're capable of, your only job is to activate your creative brain and allow your inspiration, imagination, creativity, problem solving, motivation, energy to operate all the time, for that to run your life. So if that's your only job, the 4 parts of the brain, that's the creative brain. But this other part of, or this other state, when you're feeling stressed, afraid, worried, anxious, frustrated, what you actually do on a biological level is you shut down that part of your brain and you activate a different part of your nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system, which also includes the fight-flight mechanism. And that part of your brain has no concept on what to do other than protect you from an immediate threat to your survival. That's why we call it the fight-flight. So this part of your brain, when it's activated, all it sees is there's a danger that it needs to run away from or stand and fight to protect you from. It's an instinctive thing, but it shuts down the creative brain. So all we need to do to use our brain right is stop activating that part of the brain. And the question becomes, what activates that part of the brain? What activates the part that blocks all of our creative mechanism, if you like, our creative brain? And what it is in a nutshell is this word fear. When you feel fear, and with that is stress, worry, anxiety, frustration, anger, which are all expressions of underlying fear. Whenever you feel those emotions, you activate this other part of your nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system, which activates this fight-flight response, shuts down your creative brain, and that's what keeps you stuck. So the enemy, really simply, is fear. Fear is like a drug or a trigger or a poison that doesn't matter what the justification. If you activate it in your life, it's automatically going to activate this other part of your brain, which blocks you from the real resources you need to thrive. So that's what I basically teach people is, apart from this understanding of how the machine works, is all you need to do, all you need to focus on is eliminating fear from your life. And people say, well, how do you do that? That's impossible. There are all these terrible things going on in the world. I have all these problems. Of course, I'm stressed and worried and, afraid and all those sorts of things. That's natural, isn't it? The point is, it's not natural. We've been trained our entire life to think that it's natural. We've been trained to think that problems are good, that our lives improve through problems, that problems are inevitable, that problems are natural. We've been told all these things, and they're completely untrue. And when I started to really think about this, that fear itself is a trigger for the wrong part of your brain, I thought, where have I heard this before? I've heard this somewhere. And then I realized, what does it say in the Bible? It says 365 times in the Bible, be not afraid. Now, it's not saying it as a nice idea, don't worry, everything will work out. Say, be not afraid. It's an instruction. And it's saying to you, don't be afraid, because when you're afraid, when you trigger the fear response, you automatically shut down your natural thriving state, your creative brain. And sorry, God says, I can't help you. I can't help you thrive. I can't lead you to doing the right things and stop making mistakes when you're not using the part of the brain that I've given you to do that. I've given you this other part to do something else, but it's not there to run your life. But when you keep activating it through fear, stress, worry, and anxiety, that's what's going to happen. So one of the things I teach people is to realize what's causing you to feel fear in your life, what's causing you to feel stress. And most of the time we don't know. We think it's what's going on in our life. We think it's the problems that we have. You know, your relationship, your marriage isn't going well. So that's making you afraid and stressed. But it's not really. It's something going on in your brain that is in reaction to that event or that circumstance. That's what's giving you this fear, stress, worry, and anxiety. So when you start to identify that and realize it's just your brain wrongly interpreting something to create a trigger, which is activating the wrong part of your brain, then you can do something about it. Then you can start to stop the triggers activating this fear response. You know, actually, just as an aside, do you realize there's only two fears we're born with? So every human being naturally has two fears. One is the fear of loud noises, and the other is the fear of falling. Every other fear that we have about things going wrong and whatever, and we're not going to do this or whatever it is, all those other fears, they're what we've picked up, what our brain has picked up from the day we've been born, through all of our experiences and all the people telling us we're just this weak person and life is a struggle and life is hard and you have to overcome all of your challenges and you have to fight and work hard and, you know, do all these things. These are all just things that we've just picked up through our life, but none of them are actually true. None of them make any biological sense. It doesn't make sense to struggle and work hard. Struggling and working hard, that doesn't extend your life. That doesn't make you have a greater chance for survival. That shortens your life. So all of these things we've picked up have created triggers which keep activating the wrong part of our brain, and that's what keeps us stuck and struggling. We don't realize that. That's all we need to do, is focus on eliminating the triggers to get our brain working the right way. You know, we're dealing with a 500 trillion microprocessor computer, the most powerful computer in the world. It's far more powerful than all the other computers put together. And it's only got one job to do. Like the motor car had that job to, you know, get you to where you want to go. Your brain's only got one job to do, and it can do it. And that is to make you the best that you can be, so that you thrive. You have the greatest chance for survival. You're doing all of the things that make you your best. That's your brain's job. And if we knew that, if we allowed it to do that, and realize all we need to do is figure out how to let it do that, how to let it do its job. It really is that simple.
Yeah, the best things in life are simple, Liam. The best things in life are very simple. It's not complicated. We tend to make them complicated. This is fascinating stuff. Really enjoy it. And I encourage people, if they want to find out more about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and they want to get a cheat sheet, right? So you have a Get Unstuck Fast cheat sheet. They can get that at your website, liamnaden.com. If you're listening, it's liamnaden.com. Go there, grab that cheat sheet. Check out everything that Liam does and dive into his teachings and the incredible things that he's discovered for his own life that he can also help you uncover for your life. Man, this has been a fascinating conversation, wealth of knowledge. So thank you for sharing today. Anything you want to share with the audience before we sign off?
No, just thank you very much for having me, Rob. And I think you made a really important point. Life is supposed to be simple. All of life is natural and evolves naturally. And we just need to get in harmony with that natural flow, which is often been said. It's not supposed to be complicated or difficult. We've just made it complicated and difficult, and that's why we've ended up with problems. But this is as natural as what I'm talking about. Natural success is as natural as walking off a building and falling down. It's inevitable when you know what the rules are, what the laws of nature are, and you use them the right way. It's just going to happen. And for many people, if you think about it, and it's certainly for me and people I've worked with on this as well, miracles, why do we call them miracles? It's because we're not expecting things to happen. But our brain is working all the time to bring things to us, the right things, so that we can look back and say, well, I'm so glad that happened rather than what I wanted to happen, because that was the perfect thing. And you start to see your life unfold in this perfect way and realize there is something else going on. There is another intelligence. And you don't need to force it. You just need to let it be natural and do its job. And that comes from understanding how to get out of your own way and allow your brain to do its job.
Incredible, man. Thank you for sharing today. Thank you for the work that you've done and the breakthroughs you've found in your own life. This is another incredible, true testimony of breakthrough. This has been the Unstuck movement.